I was often told how some stories find their closure in death's embrace. I never thought I would be among those. As they lower me to the ground, I stood quietly observing all these unknown faces. Now, don't get me wrong, I wasn't a bad person or led an ungrateful life, but somehow one peculiar incident changed everything for me. One night of foolishness. Even now, as death has separated me from my body, I feel a sudden rush of cold, as if I still calls for me, as if I indeed was my only true friend, a ray of hope in the loss of despair. At least I will mourn me. For how long? I'm not sure, but let's make me take you back 40 years from now. You, my friend, can be the judge if I wanted only well for me. The year 1991. I would like to introduce myself as Emily, the flower of love. My mother named me before my birth. One of the earliest memories of my father was of him and his typewriter placed on top of a big wooden table. Forgive me if I am unable to describe what the quality of wood was. But yes, your frowned-up face says right. This detail doesn't matter. You see, death takes away the sense of reasoning from us. But anyhow, my father, a profound author, has sought comfort in his typewriter since my mother's death. I died rather strangely, childbirth as the midwives called it. However, my father declared her death to be a curse of an unlucky child born on the 13th of Friday. Obviously, after this detail, it didn't matter for him which month of the year it was. Thus, growing up, my only sincere friends were servants' offspring. I am ashamed to say, despite the hate, I was like my father. Going into unnecessary details was nerve-wracking for me. For this, I never felt the need to remember these people's names except one. I was 9 years of age, and 2 days before my birthday, we had a family come to our house. From my blurred memories, I remembered how I stood behind our cook peeking at them as they were odd-looking. When they were explaining to my father how after meditating in the Himalayas, they wanted to settle in so their son could have an education. They were pale as their eyes held the sorrow of everything known to the world. Rumors had it that they sold their soul to the devil. That is how Jack and I became best friends. We used to play all sorts of games. The shadow behind him used to play with us as well. The three of us were the infamous musketeers, till the day arrived. My father started to get sick a lot, always spitting blood. Despite the hate, there still was love that I used to feel for him. Jack, seeing me sad, promised me a solution. Blood Mary will save the dead, he used to call her, a guardian angel who will fix everything. We decided on the night of Friday, the night before Halloween. I still recall how he said it was easy to bring her when all the portals were open. We sat down to decide who would do what step, since defeating her in this game was the goal. The rest of the details were irrelevant. I had a bowl of blood in my hands as my sleeping gown tucked away the dust of corridors with me. A bowl that has mine, my father, and Jack's blood mixed. My fingers were shaking, although I wasn't sure it was from the chilly winds of fall or the fear of darkness ahead of me. Behind the servant quarters end of the hallway, there was a restroom room that was hardly used. With a big mirror on its top, me and Jack agreed that this would be the perfect site for our guardian angel to come. I forgot to notice how the shadow only grinned. I pulled the curtain away from the mirror, dipped my finger in the bowl, and placed a dot on each corner. Burning the candle was the next step. But somehow the matchstick refused to burn, one after the other. As my intensity grew, I didn't pay attention to how the door was shaking till it got shut with a bang. Complete silence filled the space around me. I forgot how to breathe. My grip on the matchstick got tighter. Before I could breathe to ease the tightness in my burning lungs, I felt all the hair behind my back stand up. In the corner, someone breathed. Jack told me to not focus on these distractions and to carry on with the game. This time, the matchstick was easy to ignite. I's heart began to beat faster as I stood in the small bathroom waiting for the water to be ready. The yellow candlelight was scattering shadows on the wall and stretching her body in monstrous proportions. I took a deep breath and composed herself as her hands were shivering. The mirror in front of her began absorbing her emotions like an evil and hungry creature that was waiting for her next move. "Do it," Jack whispered to her in a low voice. I started to recite in a very low voice, "Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary," and I felt very heavy and disgusting feeling like as if a curse had been cast on her. Then for a brief moment, nothing happened. I then realized that the temperature had drastically dropped and I could see the breath that I exhaled. The candle flame flashed in a frenzy and eventually went out, leaving the room in complete darkness. I leaned forward and adjusted the mirror, and that's when I saw the reflection that did not resemble her. The air grew heavy with the presence of evil and ferocious spirits, and I was confident that the spirit had arrived. I saw in the mirror two red shining eyes fixed on hers, and I screamed. I could hear the hatred on the other side. The red eyes fluttered heavily, and the voice of 1,000 broken crystals echoed through the room.
"You think you can summon me?"
I has not spoken a word when I was in the mirror world. I woke up in a dream where I was in the same house where I lived. He was almost sick by the sight of the blood oozing out of the walls and the sound of the moans of the people. I quickly realized that Mary put her into an arena I could not get out of. Then I started receiving visions in her dreams. I noticed Mary surrounded by burning bodies looking in pain and anger. Eyes got so bloodshot and watery that I could not even bear the rancid smell of burnt human flesh. I felt dizzy, and the pain of those souls consumed by her was great. Through the din, I heard clear and confident Jack's voice. "Emily, listen to the sound of my voice." At every juncture, I found herself turning Mary was closer than ever. I could hear the patient wheezing and feel her cold breath on her neck.
"Emily, come to me. You can't hide from me."
The voice echoed through the mangled hallways. I started running through the corridors, desperately looking for an exit in the darkness. I found herself in front of the mirror, yet her reflection was not there. Instead, a face of Mary grinning in malice and covered in blood came before her eyes. Mary said,
"You are mine now."
As Mary tightened her neck with her hands, I felt a stab to her side. I breathed in and the universe flashed in front of me. I was back in my bathroom on the cold tiled floor, gulping for breath. Jack looked down upon me, but there was something different in his eyes. "Jack, help me!" I screamed with an agonized tone. Jack's lips curled into a cruel smile. "I already have." I stared in shock at the revelation before me. Jack had betrayed me. He'd known that summoning Bloody Mary would result in this. He had allowed her to enter this hell. The apparition of Mary appeared out of the broken mirror and a sickening cry was heard. Jack moved aside and watched gleefully as Mary grabbed my neck and lifted me off the floor again. I lost focus as I tried to break free from Mary's grip, her energy visibly diminishing. Jack's betrayal hurt more than any ghostly claws. "You should have never listened to me," Jack replied. "We all serve the master." My final vision was that of Mary's visage through the mirror, an expression of eternal malevolence, before being sucked into her mirror world. Darkness engulfed her and the bathroom became calm. Although what happened afterward was a blur, I do remember a white body beside me, my father running, and an ambulance rushing in. I was kept in a mental asylum onwards to discipline my evil, which is strange considering I was the victim. But it doesn't matter now since I'm already dead. Oh, before I go, there's one detail which left me confused till this date. I couldn't understand why everyone after the incident called me by the name Jack.